Welcome to Halibut Point State Park. This promontory of rugged granite juts out from the tip of Cape Ann. It's a peninsula that delineates the northeast tip of Massachusetts. Halibut Point has a uniquely rich history of human engagement. Even its name has historic connotations, as it is thought to have derived from Halibut Point, where sailing vessels had to haul their sails around to redirect them out of Ipswich Bay, north of Cape Ann, and into Sandy Bay, heading south towards Gloucester. This 67-acre park is unique for exploration. Here, myriads of earth, ocean, air, and space converge in ways both dynamic and sublime. By hiking the well-tended paths, one can explore blossoming meadows and windswept cedars on the land, observe wildlife, inspect teeming tidal pools along the rocky shore, view inspiring skies above the ocean, and celestial delights in dark skies during scheduled star parties. Human history at Halibut Point goes back thousands of years, beginning with the Pawtucket people.
The park was founded as a state park in 1981, but the history of this area can be traced back as far as the Native Americans, who used this area for 10,000 years as a hunting and gathering and fishing ground. They only lived here in the summers and then would move farther inland in the winter, where they had more food. The first colonial settlers came to this area in the early 1600s. They wanted to use it mostly as a farming ground, but unfortunately, it wasn't a great place for farming due to all of the rock. Quarrying became more popular in this area in the late 1700s, but the quarrying industry as we think of it today really didn't start until the early 1800s, from the 1840s until 1929, and that's when the majority of the granite was taken cube by cube and ship it to areas around the country and as far away as Cuba to build different buildings, bridges. They would use it as pavers to pave roads. But the industry ended in 1929. During World War II, the military owned this land and built a fire control observation tower as well as an army barracks. So the observation tower was used to search the ocean for approaching enemy ships. If they saw a ship, they would radio to guns so that those guns could target whatever enemy ship was approaching. The Army Barracks and Observation Tower have recently been renovated to be our visitor center.
The stippled granite that characterizes so much of the park, and of Cape Ann in general, has a deep and profound history.
The geology at Halibut Point State Park is under your feet. Wherever you walk, you will see the evidence of the earth creation and more recent times, glacial evidence everywhere. It's an incredible geological find. So billions of years in the making, the mantle of the earth had hot molten lava, and it came up to the crust and hardened as it cooled into granite, the hardest rock in all the world except for diamonds. As the earth was creating and the granite was still soft, hot molten lava, it had natural joints in it where the granite cracked. You can see lots of cracks evident today. And in these cracks, you would get an intrusion of another type of mineral base. We call it basalt, and there's wonderful extrusions of basalt on the landscape around, very visible today. Then more recently, we had a glacier period of time. The most recent glacier scratched and bulldozed its way over the landscape, clearing the bedrock from any debris. It left behind striations or scratches on the rock. It left behind chatter marks that you can see where it was up a little, back a little. So it didn't come in and then plow, up a little, back a little. Chatter marks everywhere. It also left behind glacial erratics, large stones and boulders that were carried in the mile-high ice and dropped as it was melting and retreating away. In Massachusetts, we mainly have sandy beaches and grassy marsh area. This is a unique habitat here at Halibut Point because we have a rocky shoreline. These rocky shorelines provide some of the best rocky tide pools in all of Massachusetts. It leaves behind snails and crabs and different kinds of seaweeds, mermaid's hair, endometria, all these beautiful colors in the tide pools. We are also unique at Halibut Point because we have a variation of habitats here that start at the tide pools and move up to heath zone area. And then you'll see larger trees as you come upland, and then you come to wonderful junipers or red cedars and even pine trees. There's a nice cross vegetation you can view right from the overlook here at Halibut Point.
Wildlife and a multitude of bird species flourish at the park.
Halibut Point State Park is a great place to watch birds any time of year. In the springtime, large numbers of neotropical migrants move through, warblers and tanagers and orioles. Some of those birds actually stay here and nest right here in the park. Birds like the Baltimore oriole, or beautiful eastern bluebirds, eastern towhees. And in the boxes that we've provided here in this meadow, house wrens also nest here. In the summertime, you can also see birds like just this past Saturday, 2 adult bald eagles flew right above this meadow and locked talons and tumbled in a courtship display. In the fall, again, we have great numbers of migrants that move through. When you go down to the rocky shore, you can see large numbers of northern gannets, a huge seabird. It's actually the largest seabird in North America, and you can see them diving into the water for fish right off the coast here at Halibut Point. But a lot of people come here in the wintertime. Many people think the wintertime is the best time to see birds here because huge numbers of sea ducks, birds like scoters and eiders and harlequin ducks, spend the winter right here off the coast at Halibut Point.
Look up for inspiring sunrises and sunsets over the water and celestial delights in dark skies during scheduled star parties.
The rocks of Halibut Point, all this granite, has a rich history going back 450 million years ago when it was once part of Africa. But the skies above Halibut Point have an even richer history going back much longer ago. How about 4.6 billion years for the creation of the sun and 4.5 billion years for the creation of the moon? Halibut Point's a great place to watch both of those objects.
Cape Ann and the park itself are wonderful places to see the stars at night. Unlike most of our city-dwelling friends to the south, we have very little or no light pollution here in the park or the area right around the park. And the nearest light that we have to worry about looking east is in Portugal. So you can come out, look up, and see the Milky Way.
Luckily, we're able to share this small space with the public every year right here at the Visitor Center. We schedule 3 star parties with the park and the DCR for, on average, 50, 60 people, maybe more. And they all come out and look through the club's telescopes. And we show them galaxies and nebulae and star clusters and comets. It's a lucky thing to be able to do. The park has been working with us to do this for almost 20 years.
Halibut Point is a look back in time. It's a majestic location to explore where Earth, ocean, air, and space meet.